This is the Shaver Prep Football Podcast, episode 39, season 2, presented by Aquarius Home Services and brought to you by True Stone Financial, 612 Quarterbacks, and powered by 10K Construction. We have two big announcements here at Talk North. On Monday, November 10th, we will release the full roster for the Minnesota All-Star football game to be played Saturday, December 13th at US Bank Stadium, the North versus the South. 88 players coming from all across Minnesota. I'll name the complete list. That's Monday, November 10th in this podcast. And on Monday, November 17th, my Talk North All-State football team will be released, and Oliver West of Minnesota Prep Red Zone will be in studio to help me break down the 2025 team. That's Monday, November 17th. It's state quarterfinal week in Minnesota high school football, and we saw some big upsets last Friday. Number one on that list, St. Michael-Albertville. In Class 6A, they were the 5 seed, and they shocked the number 1 seed Rosemount 14-0. The Knights started the season 1-5. They are now 5-5. Well, Jared Essler is the head football coach at St. Michael-Albertville. Probably the biggest upset of Friday night's section finals, and I'm sure you probably don't feel like it's an upset, but when you look at the seed numbers, St. Michael a 5 seed, Rosemount one of the 1 seeds in 6A, and you go to their place and you win, that's pretty big. So congratulations. Your story this year is just amazing, and we'll dive into it. But the first thing that catches my eye is the score, 14-0. I know turnovers were a big part of this game, but just kind of walk us through this football game on Friday and how you guys were able to beat Rosemount.
Yeah, we feel like our schedule really prepared us for it. At one point we were 1-5, but our losses were to the number 1, 2, 4, 6, and 10 team in the Metro at that point. And we kind of got progressively better each game. Even though the scoreboard didn't reflect it, we could see it, the little things that coaches pay attention to. And we felt like there was a good team in there somewhere if we could just kind of hang in there and keep working. And, it kind of came to fruition last night. Each individual game's a matchup, and we kind of felt going in that we kind of quietly liked the matchup and felt like there was going to be some personnel things in our favor. And that turned out to be true last night. A lot of credit goes to our defensive coordinator, Gavin Duncanson. He's been with me for, 15 years, and he does a phenomenal job. And he had the kids ready to go last night and had a really good plan for a pretty good wing T football team.
It certainly helps when you get 4 turnovers. That really, at this time of year, you just can't afford to do that. And for Rosemount, that was kind of their undoing last night, correct?
Yeah, that was the difference, and some of it we were maybe fortunate. The first fumble we got a kind of a fortunate bounce that we were able to scoop up. And then in the second half, they were really driving on us, and they fumbled in the red zone where we kind of had another kind of fortunate bounce. So, and then, the last 2 turnovers, they're a running football team. And, when it's the fourth quarter and we're up by 2 scores, they had to throw it more than they wanted to. And we were able to make a couple of, interceptions, one on a tip ball. So, sometimes fate kind of shines at you, and we cut a couple of breaks and some bounces last night. And that's what's pretty fun about this time of year.
So let's go back to the 1-5 start, because for a lot of teams could have folded it up, could have said, you know what, it just wasn't our year. Things just didn't work out, whatever it might be. How did you get your guys to stay engaged and believe that they could make a run to the state playoffs?
Yeah, football is really a cycle. It's really a process. Each week we film practice on Tuesday, we film practice on Wednesday, we watch it the next day, and you can see the progress each day when the kids get a chance to correct their mistakes. And, from a coaching perspective too, I felt like in the middle of the year, I kind of figured out what we did well and tried to play a little bit more to our strengths, so we've kind of morphed into a different type of offense throughout the course of the year. And that's been kind of fun to see the success there. As far as keeping the belief, we talked to our kids when we were 1-4, and we said, the state tournament or the state bracket's going to come out, and we're going to be put into a pot of 4. And in that pot of 4 is going to be only one team from the West, and we're going to be matched up with the team from the North, the East, and the South. And we'll take our chances, with that schedule that we played that really prepared us for it. And when you look at the state tournament next week, 6 of the 8 teams are from the West, so, we felt like there's, the cream of the crop there. So we felt like we've been tested, and it's kind of fun to see that group really well represented.
I was just going to say that only Wayzata out of the West was the only team that didn't advance to the state tournament. And I think, Jared, this is kind of the beauty of Class 6A and the classic, unique kind of tournament that you guys play. Because in the old days, you guys would have all been beating up each other just to get to a state tournament. And instead, the crossover allows, I guess, the better teams to rise to the top, whichever teams that might be. And I think it's such a fair way to determine a state champion in Class 6A.
Yeah, 100%. We, and it gives us a cool opportunity. We got to play at Rosemount last night, which is the first time we've ever been there. And what an awesome stadium and a cool experience for our kids. And it's really a great way to kind of shuffle the deck and get a fresh start, play some new teams. And I feel like that benefited us.
All right. So now I'm gonna go the other side. I'm gonna gripe about something. Sure. Why in the world are you going to play Minnetonka and Farmington? This just doesn't make it. Just this is the kind of thing that drives me crazy, and I'm sure it drives the fans crazy. Yeah. Your fans have to drive instead to drive to Minnetonka or somewhere in between. And I know Bob Madison in the high school league. This is what they've got to do. They've got to set the stuff in advance. But my goodness, to have Minnetonka and St. Michael have to go all the way to Farmington to play this state quarterfinal game. Give me your thoughts.
Randy, I plead the fifth.
Okay, so forget about the site. Give me the thoughts on the matchup, because you get Minnetonka again. You lost to them in week 2. Francois goes off. He scores 4 touchdowns. He has almost 160 yards on the ground. He's back playing running back, so you know what's coming. Yeah. What did you take from that game 2 that you now help you get ready for the game on Thursday night in Farmington?
Yeah, the turnover margin. We put the ball on the ground in the second play, and they scooped it up and ran it back, so they had 1st and goal, kind of an easy touchdown. And then or later on in the first quarter, we threw an interception. So, we were -2 in the turnover margin. That was a big difference. And looking back at that team, I don't even recognize them.
Really,
kind of gone back to look at the plays I was calling and the schemes that we were in, and I've kind of found a groove with what we do well, and that's been fun to see the progress. So, and I haven't got into the skippers yet. I don't know how they have changed. I know for about 6 weeks there, they put the Francois kid at quarterback, and now they're back healthy again. So maybe the benefit here is that we have seen them based off the offense that we're going to get on Thursday.
And health is such a big thing this time of year. Is your team healthy walking in to the state quarterfinal?
Yeah, we've had a stretch of good health for the last 4 or 5 weeks. We did lose a pretty good offensive tackle, Tanner Carroll, week 4, and we lost a pretty good outside linebacker, Beckett Young, week 5. It's kind of a bummer that those guys don't get to be playing for us on this journey. They've been really incremental in our success. But other than that, we've strung together 4 or 5 really good weeks, and that's been fun to see.
Well, congratulations. What a big win over Rosemount, 14-0 to advance to the state tournament, sitting at 5-5. It doesn't often happen when teams are 500 or less to get into the state tournament, but you guys have managed to do that. So congratulations.
Thanks, Randy.
All right. Thanks, Jared. Aquarius Home Services takes water treatment to an all-star level with the Connecticut water treatment system. And now get up to 25% off with 6-month, no payments, and no interest financing for qualified buyers. It's a great deal for worry-free water for drinking, worry-free water for cleaning, laundry, showers, dishes, and more. And all of this with on-demand efficiency that uses zero electricity. Trust me, it is life-changing. Find out more at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended. Our Talk North Walk the Talk winner this week is Minneapolis North quarterback Logan Lockermeyer. 22 of 29 passing for 331 yards and 7 touchdowns. Yes, 7 touchdowns in a wild section final victory over St. Croix Lutheran, 56-44. Lots of big wins on Friday, including Kasson-Mantorville beating the top team in Class 4A and their rival, Byron, in the Section 1 4A championship. And I talked with one of the stars of that game. Well, Jeremiah Peterson-Gordon is a star player for Kasson-Mantorville. They got a huge win over Byron in the section championship on Friday night. So they're advancing to the state quarterfinals, first state appearance since 2021. Good morning to you. We are recording this on Saturday morning, and Jeremiah is sitting in Ames, Iowa. He's on a recruiting visit to Iowa State.
Yes,
I know a little bit about Iowa State, graduated from there in 1981. I'm sure it hasn't changed all that much. However, it's a great campus town. You've been there before. What's your impressions?
Yes, sir. Honestly, every time I've been there, it's been crazy. I mean, the fans, the student section, I mean, they go all out. Ames is no joke. Ames is no joke.
So you're excited to be there, but you're being recruited by other teams too. Talk a little bit about that
Yes,
before
sir.
we dive into your football game on Friday. Who's offered you, and how is that shaping up right now, the recruit part of it?
Yeah, so I've been offered by St. Thomas, Mankato, Augustana, who else am I forgetting? Northern State, I believe it is.
Okay.
And then Iowa Western, St. John's, Army, Air Force. Those are really 2 big schools. And then as of right now, I did verbally commit to St. Thomas. But kind of still keeping my options open and kind of looking around a little bit. So
do they like you as a defensive back or a running back?
Yeah, so as of for right now, I'm committed to St. Thomas as running back. And then obviously we run a wing T. So then that Army Air Force kind of got in there with that triple option and everything like that. And then that Augustana and Mankato were more of a nickel back. So
Gotcha. Big win on Friday. You avenge a loss to Byron. For people that don't understand how good football is in Southeast Minnesota, can you just kind of summarize what it's like to play Stewartville and Byron every year?
Yes, sir. Honestly, it's insane. You can go rivalry. It doesn't matter. It could be Byron versus Stewartville, us versus Stewartville, us versus Byron. It's honestly a toss-up. And I think we had the hardest section trying to make it to the state finals. It's no joke. You know, we haven't beaten Stewartville since 2017, and we beat their 30-0 winning streak record. And I think that's huge. And beating a team like Stewartville twice in the same season is something I can't even explain. It's insane. And then going against Byron, we had that unfortunate loss in Byron. And then coming back and beating them when it really matters is really huge.
And you guys were down big in that game, were you not?
Yeah, we were. So I think we were down by a touchdown. And we were driving down the field and had a little mix up. We ran a trick play, fumbled, they scooped it up and scored, and that was game. So we were right there. And I mean, it was just a really good game.
So this last game, when you were playing Byron, were you trailing in the section final on Friday night?
We were down 21.
I think you were down 21-3, weren't you?
Yeah, we were down 21-3 at half. And then, yeah, crazy.
What happened in the second half?
we came back and we went into the locker room. We were like, we got this. We know what we need to do. And we have a kind of a little saying, and I'll give props to my coach, Coach JV, Jeff Bernards. And he says, what's the score? 0-0. And that's what we going into the second half. We always think of the score as 0-0. And we just came back. We got that huge interception, just drove down the field. We got a touchdown. Momentum started to kick in a little bit. The sideline was getting loud. And yeah, we just finished the game.
You had, it looks like, the winning touchdown in the fourth quarter.
Yes, sir.
A 15-yard touchdown run to cap the comeback. 14 carries, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. How would you describe yourself as a player? What do you think makes you a great player?
Yes, sir. Honestly, I just think I'm able to adapt to any situation. I was playing wing, which is our halfback position. They threw me in at B-back, our fullback position. So I feel like I can either get kind of down and dirty, if that makes sense, or I can get out in space and make a play. So I just think I'm a playmaker overall.
This is the first trip since 21 to go to state. What does it mean for Kasson-Mantorville to get the opportunity to play in the state tournament?
Yes, sir. It just means so much. Especially starting my freshman year of high school, we went and played at Mayo, lost to Stewartville. When my sophomore year, lost to Byron. Junior year, lost to Byron. So we were 0-3 in every section final, and now finally doing it my senior year, I'm just so blessed. It's just so grateful. I'm just super happy.
I'm going to give you a chance to give props to your offensive line, because without those guys, you don't get to do what you do.
Yes, sir.
Name your 5 offensive linemen and tell me just how good these guys are.
Yeah. We have Ian O'Neill. He's our center. And then we got Quinn Wise, Harley Medina, Kasson Winya, and Jaron Ogilvie. And those are some of the guys. One of our offensive linemen who are starting this year, Kasson Winya, wasn't going to play football this year. And some of us got, we're talking to him and we're like, dude, we could really use you. We know this is going to be a very good season. And he came back and he's been balling. And then our center, Griffin Grover, he used to be our center, now play more snaps on defense. Ian O'Neill stepped in. He's a junior. He's been working his butt off. And just some of the guys like Jaron Ogilvie and Harley Medina didn't really get to see the field last year or sophomore year, and really have stepped up and put in the work over the summer. So those guys don't get enough credit enough. Those guys are amazing, and they know what they're capable of, and they do their job.
That's the beauty of football, right? You don't have to be a great player as a freshman. You can come back and play as a senior and make an impact on your football team. Last question. The Minnesota All-Star football game rosters are out. In fact, on this podcast, on my podcast next week, Dave Fritzy, who's the game coordinator, will announce the entire roster with me. But I have a sneak preview. And your name is on there. So is Carson Heimer, who unfortunately is injured for Byron. And there's a tight end, Isaac Spencer from Stewartville. So very well represented in Southeast Minnesota. What does this honor mean to you to get a chance to play in the football All-Star game in December?
Right. Honestly, it's just a blessing. And kind of just coming from a smaller town, if that makes sense, Kasson-Mantorville, you don't really hear of them too much. It just means so much being from southeastern Minnesota, and just kind of being underlooked, kind of being that underdog a little bit, just kind of showing Kasson-Mantorville on the map and just getting us out there, getting the name out there, and just representing KM. It just means a ton to me. So,
Class 4A looks like it's wide open. You've got a chance.
Yes,
tell me about why you think Kasson-Mantorville can win it all this year.
Yes, sir. I think we just put in so much effort. I think we bond so much together. We know what we're doing. We know what we're capable of doing. We have the talent. We have the players, the coaching staff, just the culture, the Kasson-Mantorville's culture. There's just everybody together, the community. I think we know we can do it.
Well, congratulations on the big win, section final over Byron to advance to the state football tournament. Enjoy your time in Ames, Jeremiah. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
10K Construction is your one stop for all your general contracting needs, whether interior, exterior, residential, commercial, or multifamily properties. They build relationships with their clients, and that's how they've grown their business through referrals. Plus, they are teaming up with LP SmartSide to become Minnesota's premier siding installer. And they're also partnering with IKO Shingles as well. They've got the best of the best to do the job right. 10K Construction covers both Minnesota and Wisconsin. Now, the rumor is they charge a little extra because it's Packer land. I'm not sure about that, but what I am sure about, 10K Construction is the company you want handling all of your general contracting needs. Go to 10kconstruction.com for details. So the state playoffs will kick off on Thursday this week with 11 games being played. 9 games are scheduled on Friday and 8 games on Saturday. It's going to be a busy week. Our Talk North Game of the Week on Thursday, November 6th. Unbeaten teams in Class 2A. Waterville Elysian Morristown will take on Goodhue. That game's at Hastings High School at 6 o'clock. On Friday, November 7th, Great State quarterfinal in 6A. Lakeville South battles defending champion Maple Grove. That game is being played at Eastview High School at 6 o'clock. And on Saturday, November 8th, unbeaten teams Minneapolis North in 3A take on Pine Island at Totino Grace High School. That game's a 7 o'clock start. The winners this week go to U.S. Bank Stadium and the state semifinals next week. And I'm here now with Lewis Kidd, former football star at Totino Grace, former football star at Montana State, played in the NFL for a few teams, and now working here at Training House on the campus of the Vikings headquarters. Great to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Great to see you too, of course.
You played for one of the great football coaches in Minnesota high school history, I think, and Jeff Ferguson.
Yes.
At Totino Grace. What was that experience like, and what did you take from that maybe has stuck with you all this time?
One thing that will always stick out to me about Fergie is his compassion and his love for his guys.
Yeah.
I sat down and talked with him a couple weeks ago, and my wife's older brother played for him, and her younger brother, and so they know that family very well. And so, he was like, hey, make sure you tell her brother and their friends, and make sure you tell them I love them. Miss those guys. Hope they're doing well. So, a lot of compassion and love for the guys. And, they say Totino's like a prep school, like it's a preparatory for college and stuff like that. And it's kind of the way we viewed it. And also like on the field, like Fergie, the way he ran the program, the standard that he set, the accountability that he gave to the players, to kind of run the team, but also had his hand in kind of where he needed to. That was something that it was like made college, that transition so much easier. I saw a lot of kids come from not the same type of coaching for me that struggled at the beginning or it didn't pan out because they weren't held to a high standard. So that was something that I was always grateful for, and I'm sure at the time I wasn't, but it helped in the long run.
It's funny how time allows you to understand what was happening 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. How would you describe your football journey? Because you've had obviously some great ups and maybe some disappointments a little bit.
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that. I would describe my football journey as just fun and enjoyment. I played the game since 3rd grade, and I've loved every minute of it. Towards the end, it did get a little to be that business, and that's ultimately why I kind of ended up calling it. My body was breaking down a little bit, so that didn't help. But I was just thinking about it. It's like I'm thinking about where my next paycheck's coming from and how my employer's viewing me, and I'm bouncing around teams, and I can't really get my foot in the door, and not even necessarily with the program, but just like you're meeting a whole new group of guys, you're meeting a whole new coaching staff, you're learning a whole new playbook, and it's just a lot of new, and it's all at once.
The beauty of football is the camaraderie, right? And so when that happens, you probably feel more alone than you feel part of a group. Is that a good way to describe it?
100%. And I got to San Francisco, and I was welcomed by a lot of guys. And there was also a lot of guys that were just like, I was just a passerby. I vividly remember going up to one O-lineman and like, hey, I haven't met you yet. My name's Lewis Kidd. Nice to meet you. And he looked me dead in the eyes and just went, all right, and went back to doing his thing. And I'm like, all right, I guess that's our intro, and we're good. So, but no, I mean, I there was some ups and downs, but I truly think maybe a little naive in my football career.
Sure.
Just like, I knew from a young age that I wanted to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand the processes that had to take place in order for that. So I really didn't understand how big of a deal an offer was. I think I got my first offer my junior year from South Dakota. I didn't truly understand how big of a deal that was until after I got that offer. I'm like, oh wow. Like, I kind of didn't even realize these schools need to offer me to want to come for me to play for them. So, that's kind of when I started to kick it into high gear. It's like, oh, I gotta go here if this is something that I want to accomplish. So, luckily I was able to, make it to Montana State and, be put in some opportunities to have some good games and have a good career. And, I cherish those days.
So now you've settled in here at Training House and you've become part of the Training House Football Academy.
Yes.
You're in charge of the line of scrimmage that they have here. Talk a little bit about that, what comes with that, and how excited you are to be a part of that.
Yeah, super excited because it gives me a chance to kind of stay around the game. This is something that I'm still passionate about, and I still have knowledge to give, and so that's kind of right around the time I realized I was starting to die down in the league, and I was like, got in Bill's face and Eric Rasmussen's face. I was just like, hey, you guys got a job for me? And at first it was a no, and then it was like maybe, and then this line of scrimmage opportunity came up, and they sat me down in their office. I'll never forget, and they wrote down a million things on this whiteboard. And now this is me coming from, I had a handful of like odd jobs. I worked at Lowe's one time. I did some student teaching. I did a long-term substitute. So like, really have never had a job, a career. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm sitting down there writing all this down. They're like, this all making sense? Is this a lot for you? And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's good. No matter what I do, it's going to be a lot and it's going to be new. So at least I'm familiar with what we're trying to do and the football side of it. So like that's half the battle right there. And it was more of like an excitement, a new challenge. And coming into it, it's exactly what it was, and still kind of is. It's a challenge, but the best thing is that I get to work with these kids and I get to develop a relationship with these kids. And, like these guys are texting me like I'm their best friend. And I'm like, this is, are we best friends? Probably not, but it's cool because I get a chance to kind of talk with these kids and learn about them, and they trust me and they come to me with stuff. And so, they kind of, it's the relationship part. It's also, talking with the parents, making sure that their concerns, their needs, what they're seeing in their child is being, talked about and brought up. And then the biggest hurdle and the thing we're trying to accomplish is just like creating these relationships and sustaining these relationships with the coaches. Yeah. Because if we don't have the coaches' trust, no, that's pretty much it.
And some of the players you work with, Andrew Trout being one of them, the big offensive lineman from Rocori that's going to go play for the Gophers. What do you see in him? Just give us a small snippet of what you see in him.
Kind of the it factor of this kid of like, he's got the size, he moves very fluidly, he's strong, and I think he's so strong that he doesn't even know how much strength he has. What I've kind of found with these younger offensive line and defensive linemen is sometimes these guys are so strong, but they don't know how to translate.
How to use it.
They don't know the technique to put that strength on tape. And so getting these guys to kind of like, hey, when you're punching this guy and your foot's in the air, you're losing all your power. You're still killing this guy because you're bigger, stronger, more athletic. But if you got that foot in the ground when you hit him, it's a completely different block or a completely different tackle or whatever it is. So that part is kind of cool to see those little things click. And Andrew's a great kid, and I can tell he's smart. I can tell he's always kind of thinking. Like I was giving him coaching points, and he's like, okay, yeah, and he'd go and do it. So having those coachable kids that makes it easy.
You have team training here too as part of this. Talk about the team training aspect of this.
So
it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I honestly see us moving more in that direction in the future. I hope to continue to get more schools. So this year we worked with 4 6A schools. We worked at Eastridge, Minnetonka, Edina, and Lakeville South.
Okay.
We did Minnetonka and Edina in the spring. We did Lakeville South and Eastridge in the summer. And then we also did a kind of a hybrid program where we're actually coming out with an app here pretty soon that's got all of our, you can do workouts, you can do O-line, D-line specific, it'll have everything in this app. And so we gave those videos to Buffalo Lake Hector Stewart, and they actually bust their whole team 2 hours each way. Brought them here. And it was an awesome experience. The kids got to come out on campus. They got to practice in the Vikings facility. Josh Metellus was kind enough to come out and bless them with some words and stuff. And the cool thing about what we do is that, the connections that we have, the people that have played, the people that are still playing, the guys that come and want to help through this program are guys that have a ton of knowledge. And I call it like a melting pot all the time, because it's like we have guys that have played, I played in the league. We have a couple of guys that have played in the league. We have Alex Boone, who's played in the league. We have guys that have done UFL. We have guys that have done CFL. We have guys that have been really, really good college players or really, really good high school players. And it's like, it's cool to get a bunch of different experiences, a bunch of different levels of football, bring them all together, and now we can fit the mold for any kid, whether you're the kid that wants to play varsity as a senior and just wants to get on the field at some point, or you're the freshman who's going to start on varsity for 4 years and going to get highly recruited. Like, we are kind of that spot for everybody, and we're really hammering down on the O-line, D-line. There's me specifically. I think that's part of the reason why they kind of liked having me come in is I care a lot about the big boys, and I want to continue to put a precedence on that.
It feels like you found your niche.
Yes.
After all this football journey of playing at Totino, Montana State, the NFL, you kind of found where you want to be.
Yeah, and I've always loved working with kids. I have an education degree. I have a master's in curriculum instruction, so that's something that I was going to do anyway.
Right.
And that's,
but to incorporate football.
Exactly. It's something that I didn't, I was like, okay, well, it's probably just going to be a teaching and coaching thing, the normal, whatever. That's what
the typical path.
That's what half the football players I talk to do. They teach and then they go coach. And I'm like, that's great. And that is probably something that I will do in the future. But I'm like, right now, let's try out something different. Let's try to grow this brand. Let's try to grow this program. And my goal is to just get more kids through the door, and not like a salesman, like, hey, we just need numbers. More of like, I want to connect with more schools, more kids. I want to hear more stories. I want to help more kids develop and kind of understand what it takes to be an offensive or defensive lineman at the next level. Because there's a ton of kids that have those aspirations, but don't really, a little naive Lewis, don't really know what to do to put that in step. And my goal is to kind of be that mentor that I wish I would have had when I was in high school.
Last thing, how can people find you? How can they get involved in that program?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, Line of Scrimmage, Minnesota. That is our Instagram handle. We do a lot of stuff on there, a lot of socials, a lot of videos, highlighting our guys, talking about a lot of programs that come up, and then obviously now partnering with Training House. We're on the Training House website. I believe we're on the drop-down menu in the program section, and we've got kind of our areas that we work with. So we've got like the line of scrimmage, the brute, the high school combine, kind of all those things where you can click and pull information. And we're going to continue to add more things this year. We're going to start working with youth this year. We're going to try to do a big 5-on-5 tournament with all the big boys, kind of highlighting and get some cool highlights from that. And we're just going to continue to build, and the goal is to just add more to our fold and build this community.
It is the perfect place for the perfect state, because we have the linemen. If you want to find the beef are here in Minnesota.
That's right. 100%.
Lewis, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. Good to see you. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by 612 Quarterbacks, Minnesota's premier quarterback development program. At 612 Qs, they're committed to creating a high-quality quarterback development program, both affordable and accessible. Their training goes beyond the basics, not only focusing on proper throwing mechanics and footwork, but also building strong football IQ, leadership, and resilience. Their mission is to educate, inspire, and challenge athletes to raise their standards on the field and in life. Through training and mentorship, they're building more than quarterbacks. They're building a community rooted in growth, accountability, and shared success. Learn more today at 612quarterbacks.com. I was visiting with my friends at Truestone Financial the other day. They're a warm and welcoming group. They're known as the Neighborhood Credit Union, and I can't think of a better way to describe them. When I'm at Truestone, I feel like I'm chatting with my neighbors. Combine that personality with a full menu of services and a lot of financial expertise, and you have a winning combination. Whether I need a checking account, a car loan, or even a mortgage, I know I'm going to work with some very smart, friendly people. With 23 locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, you're not far from a Truestone neighborhood. Visit a branch near you or learn more at truestone.org. Truestone is an equal housing opportunity lender. By the way, Lewis Kids Totino Grace football team made the state playoffs in Class 4A. They will open up the quarterfinals against undefeated Marshall on Thursday night, that game being played at Blaine High School at 6 o'clock. The Shaver Prep Football Podcast drops every Monday, and you can catch us on YouTube and where podcasts can be found. My thanks to producer Alex Haugen and the great folks here at Talk North. Thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next week.